Well, thank you all for 5,000 subscribers. It's been an insane year and a bit. Heck, it's only been a year since I hit 1k. By the time this video comes out, it probably has been a year since I hit 1k. Anyway, you might remember I did that community ranking for all the bosses and blasters for 100 subs that ended up coming out way after. Well, I did it again this time for all the areas in yokai which 1 to 3. A few weeks ago, quite a bit more than a few weeks ago, at the time this is coming out probably, I set up a forum where viewers could rate each area from 1 to 10 and put any additional comments. I took the averages of the forum and ordered them from lowest to highest, which is what we'll be going over today. If you didn't see, there's also a space for questions on the forum, which I answered in the last video, so go watch that if you haven't already. As for what counts as an area, I've included most overworld areas and some dungeons that I feel are big or distinct enough. I've also grouped some areas together that I feel aren't significant enough on their own, like the Gary Resort areas, Old Mount Wildwood and Gorge Pond, and the small areas you can access with the raft. With that all out of the way, let's get into the ranking. In last place, number 35 with an average of 4.69, to no one's surprise, is the raft areas. I mean, there isn't too much here. You go to a couple places during the story, there are some treasure hunts here, which most people probably haven't done, and there's Odyssey Nyan, who's a pain to get to and can be more easily befriended through Blaster's Tea. I don't even believe there are any quests tied to these areas either. Not to mention, looking at the comments, people really don't like the raft minigame. I'm not really good at the raft minigame, so it's a real pain having to do it over and over after just missing the correct way to go. Cool that your follower yokai is the one to do the attacking though. Would have been cool if they added more here to give an actual reason to use the raft outside the main story, such as quests, or at least made it hard to miss things. Number 34 is Meadowbrook Farm with a rating of 5.07. Not really surprising. Probably the most forgettable BBQ area. There also isn't too much to do here. There's at least more on the raft area since a couple quests need to go here, and there's a whole load of yokai that spawn here, including Snottle, who's just a regular yokai in this game, and even a yokai spot. There's also Miss Terry and Teducator's daily yokai. As some of the comments say, it does feel really slow running around the field. They made it way bigger than it should have been. Not really much else to say about this one. Next up, with a rating of 5.4, is Springdale Underground Waterway. I like this area, but it's not too surprising that it's so low. Most people probably haven't been here outside 1 and 2's story, but actually quite a bit. I find it cool how many entrances there are and it connects all the main areas of Springdale. There's plenty of yokai here, including all evil in Yokai Watch 1 and 2 with its switches. From what I gather, people don't like how many gates there are. I find it difficult to navigate, which I can understand. Too bad it got completely reworked in 3, but there's at least a quest here to get Forget-Me-Not, one of the best healers. Number 32 with a rating of 5.44 is Grumbler's Grotto, the main new area of Nate Chapter 4, despite being a dungeon. I'd say I like it. The Agent X stealth sections are pretty cool. You get the drill here and also fight Agent X for the second time here. This is also where you go to befriend Little Charmer, Silver Lining, as well as Wonder Nyan, which feels kinda random but gives more reason to come back here. And that's about all there is to say here. Excellent Tower takes the 31st spot with a rating of 5.45, 0.01 more than Grumbler's Grotto. I understand why it's this low considering how small it is, but there's quite a lot to it. They have a bunch of quests in both 2 and 3, and the whole Yokaiju fight and stuff. Heck, you can even encounter Terror Time here in 3. Not to mention the music here, I really like it. It's unfortunate how small it is and it doesn't even have any dungeon or anything. I will admit though, it is a pain to reset for a yokai at the observation deck. Cool area that's unfortunately too small to be ranked any higher. The rating of 5.39, and number 30 is Old Mount Wildwood and Old Gorge Pond. How the hell did this be Excellent Tower? Mount Wildwood is a crank I guess, as well as a couple quests, and Gorge Pond has a heavy rain quest and that's about it. Knowing you guys, a crank is the reason this is made to 30. I only find one positive comment that wasn't to do with gambling. Anyway, Mount Wildwood is very limited in the past as the left path is blocked up by trees, and Gorge Pond is basically all of what Breezy Hills is 60 years ago. Not even sure why they made Old Gorge Pond separate from the rest of Old Springdale. Not surprised it's low, but kinda disappointed to be Excellent Tower. Number 29 is Secret Forest Base with a rating of 6.15. I know there are smaller areas, but this one's quite important to the story, as this is obviously Buck's secret base, and where we access the raft. This area also has a gloombell forest, which is an extremely big dungeon, visited multiple times for quests and stuff. Surprised none of the comments mention the fog, as I know that's a common complaint of gloombell forest, but I personally like it as it gets you to actually look at the top screen rather than relying on the bottom screen. It's not just me that relies on the bottom screen a lot in these games, is it? Hopefully not. This is also where you fight Agent X for the first time, and where you get the blaster, as well as the location of the Muggleyan quest and the Mushroom quest. 28th place with an average rating of 6.23 is Flatpot Plains, the location of the Bonnie and the Fleshy War, the Arachnus Untold quest, the Wall quest, and that's about it. They did a lot more with it in Blasters, which made me forget how little there actually is in 2. I assume most people didn't consider Blasters when rating these, so I'm not going to talk much about it. The war is pretty cool, but it's a very big area where you can't use a bike because it's considered a dungeon, despite the fact there are no overworld yokai to run into. Honestly surprised it is high compared to other smaller areas. I guess people like the war a lot. The last of the smaller areas for now, and just being Flatpot Plains, is Sawayama Castletown, at 27 with a rating of 6.25. I often forget this area exists. On top of the fact that this is a Psychic Spectres exclusive, makes it surprising that it got this high. I love the Whisper quest and the Dane Dead Time quest as much as the next person, but other than that, we have Dark Cubi and the Soba shop, and that's really it. There's not really any exclusive yokai spawned here, so there's not really any reason to come back here other than to buy Soba, which I will admit is a really good addition. It's a cool area with like nothing to do, so I'm surprised to be here everything lore. Up next is the first properly big area with a rating of 6.35. Number 26 is Breezy Hills, a major area from the first game that was expanded upon a bit in 3 that has so much to do. I mean, I guess that the main areas from 1, this one does have the least, but only 0.1 more than the area with like 4 things to do is a bit ridiculous. I mean, there's a museum, Gourd Pond, the Everymark can sell unique stuff, you unlock the Inferno here, Haley and Eddie live here. You have a point actually, when I think about it, you don't really come here that often. Still though, we at least have boss fights here, being Phantasmari and Ifun. Quite a lot of quests require you to come back here. You'd think there'd be more, though, as a main overworld area, and the last one you unlock in 1. There's also the area I go to for gate globe grinding, but that's only because I memorize all the locations. But that's just a personal thing, rather than anything to do with Breezy Hills being a good area. I just still like this area, but I'm realizing how little there even is here, compared to the other bigger areas. Still don't think it should have been this low, but I understand why it is. At 25 is another combined area with a rating of 6.43, which is Pecan Port and Dukesville. Pecan Port has like 2 cutscenes and Columbacat, and that's it, hence why it's included with Dukesville, the main area of Chapter 8. Despite the fact it's disconnected from the main 3 BBQ areas, it really feels like one of them with the amount of quests and stuff here. You could even sleep here, which is one way to avoid zombie night. The comments on this one are pretty mixed. People either love the cowboy stuff or just think it's boring. I'm personally indifferent, but leaning more towards liking this area. Don't forget though, this area had the 3rd Agent X fight during the story, plus the key quest that makes you befriend negative as of all yokai this late into the story. Basecamp is also here, which is cool I guess. Speaking of BBQ areas, Southmond is 24 with an average rating of 6.51. This is basically the uptown Springdale of BBQ. This is where you find Nate's house, the school, post office, and bank, as well as being where the first boss, Junkernaut, is. Most people either said it's Uptown Springdale but worse, or that they couldn't remember anything here. Really? I agree it's worse than Uptown, but come on. This comment puts it best. A solid residential area in BBQ, and has plenty of hidden dungeon areas. And of course, the Junkyard, which is a great opening dungeon in my opinion. Sure, it may not be the best, but still has plenty of quests to complete and yokai to befriend. Not to mention, obviously, how much is featured in the main story of 3. There's also the House of Boxes, and Detective Holda as other notable things in Southmond. Most importantly, we have the Green Grump Battleboard in the Scrapyard, the best way to get lottery tickets for the Sand Suit to get Mr. Sandmeth for the Hero Roll quest, if your game is updated. Even still, he sells ghastly fragments and makes Starry Spangles more accessible. I would say this is probably too low of a placement for Southmond, but looking at what's above, yeah, I guess this makes sense. Back to Springdale with 23, San Fantastico, which has a rating of 6.64. Forget my previous statement, Southmond should be higher than this. I do mostly like this area, but there's so much here that I really hate, mainly in Yokai Watch 2. First off is of course the fact you have to friend not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 yokai from Seaside Cave in Yokai Watch 2's story, 3 of which for 1 quest. I did get more lucky on my most recent playthrough, but still ridiculous that the game requires you to do this. And of course we have the infamous Light Rain quest, Cap and Crash and Burn, for me. I could change that though. Okay, it's getting to... It's Light Rain! Wait, it's Light Rain! Those who don't know, Light Rain is an extremely rare weather condition and is required to beat this quest. From my understanding, the best way to get this is to just wait. This took several streams of just having you crouched in the background while doing other stuff. I'll get into more detail in the next video. Some people may defend the befriending, or even the long train ride here, which I haven't even mentioned, but I don't see how anyone could defend Cap and Crash and Burn. At the very least, it's not required for anything. The Orchestra redeems this place a little by having the boxing ring and Tattletale from Blaster, as well as the Odyssey Neon quest in Seaside Cave, which they finally added a mirror port to. The comments on this one are pretty mixed. People either love it, hate it, or don't really care. Number 22 with an average of 6.68 is East Pine, the area with the Phantom Art and Super Manager and the Watch Shop. We also have Tasty Pasta Man in the church, which is completely useless if you never did the Fusion quest, which I actually didn't on my first playthrough. There's also no music in the church for some reason. Wayfarer is kinda just there. I only really use the one in Springdale. I'm also sure 99% of people never went back in the Haunted Mansion after the story. There's also some shops here, which I've probably been to about once or twice in the 6 years I've been playing this game. People seem to like the Phantom Art, which is visited numerous times during quests and stuff, and also think that stuff from Northbeech is in this one. I haven't really talked about music thus far because they're all good. I don't think I dislike a single one, but East Pine gets bonus points for me for a remix and an unused Springdale track. Obviously still plenty quests here, including Spectre and Double Time. 0.1 points ahead of East Pine. Old Harrisville is number 21 with a rating of 6.69. Unlike Old Springdale, 60 years did not make much of a difference to Harrisville. Yeah, different yokai spawn, Nathaniel's secret base is here, and there are some unique quests, but it's basically still just Harrisville with no mirror post since it's the past. I also get the two confused all the time. People seem to really like Harrisville, as we'll see later on, so it makes sense why this one isn't lower. Some people are saying this is just straight up better than present day Harrisville. I don't really have much else to say about this one. I like present Harrisville, and this is kind of the same but worse. The stuff you do here in the story is cool, I guess. We have a tie here for number 20, with ratings of 6.72. That being Yoppel HQ, Greenfields, and Shoppers Row. Pretty random. I never expected a two-way tie from this many responses, let alone a 3x1. Yes, this is what the poll was about. And Dynamon actually kind of predicted this one, saying they were all very close together. So yeah, that's what that was about, if you're wondering, Greenfields won. Anyway, let's start with Shoppers Row. Of course, the main attraction here is Flower Road, with many shops for stuff like food, books, and whatever What to Find is selling. This alone makes it a very useful area to come back to frequently. We also have Nocturne Hospital, which is an interesting enough dungeon on its own, but of course comes with a boss, that being Dr. Madaman, who I've talked about many times on this channel before, from being nothing but another McCracken's henchman to one of the most beloved bosses with all the added backstory and stuff. There's not really much here, but what it does have is great. Basically what this comment says, kinda empty, but what it has is very good. Flower Road is important, Nocturne Hospital is incredibly fun every time we have to go on every game, and the Tranquility Apartments are a nice set piece. Nothing bad to say. Oh yeah, there's also Tranquility Apartments, which has stuff. Next is Greenfields, a very empty small area with no music and a WhatsApp baffleboard. You may be asking, why is a random train station with nothing here so high up? 2 words. Hazy Lane. I've gone in depth about Hazy Lane before, so I won't say too much here. Basically, it's the Infinite Tunnel, but with more stuff. And most people like it more than the tunnel. I mean, does Infinite Tunnel have a giant lobster chasing you? Didn't think so. Too bad, right? Yokais start spawning here much later than in the tunnel, so there isn't too much reason to visit here after being Skulk. Still amazing though. Sadly, this couldn't really be ranked any higher considering there's nothing outside of Hazy Lane, whereas of course there's plenty more to Harrisville than the tunnel. I honestly like that more for Hazy Lane though, as it feels so out of the way compared to the tunnel, especially with no music in Greenfields, like you're not really supposed to be there. Enough rambling, I made a whole video about this, watch it if you haven't already. Finally for the tie is Yoppel HQ. Well, this may just be a much larger than average interior area, there's lots more to it. Chapter 6 almost entirely takes place here, as well as the alternate Chapter 6 in the Katie quest. This is where you go for watch upgrades, where you unlock Pocket Mirror Pool, and the best place for fishing to get the Swirly Soul for the S-Rank watch. Walwynyan and Wibblecombe are here, as well as bosses Yoppelbot and Heals All Awoken. You can even replay the watch check minigame. There's a lot of quests for this area, and it's pretty significant in the story. Unfortunately, outside of quests, there isn't really much reason to come back. Speaking of areas that are mostly just a big interior area, next up is Hilltime Mansion at number 17, rated 6.76. I personally really like Hilltime Mansion during the story with all the puzzles and stuff, and for a while there I thought I was alone on that and expected this one to do quite poorly, but no, I'm glad there are lots more Hilltime Mansion enjoyers out there. In fact, there are very few negative comments toward this area. I really like the whole switching between Nate and Haley to solve puzzles. Only thing I dislike is that it makes you befriend Popsicle and El Guzzo, but at least they evolve into pretty good yokai, unlike certain other required befriends, and Betty Bye is an alright boss. Oh, but outside the story, well, there's a couple of quests, the playing card yokai, and that's it unfortunately. Great area during the story, but not much to do after that. Still glad to see a lot of fellow Hilltime Mansion enjoyers though. Next up at number 16 with a rating of 6.81 is Mystery Way. Most people can agree there's quite a lot here. 4 extra bosses, 4 extra gambling, the Onis, the Moximus item, the best money farm, Erebony and Fleshy Yokai, etc. Also really like the aesthetic being like an abandoned highway. Feels kinda like a mix between Infinite Inferno and Divine Paradise, and Infinite Tunnel and Hazy Lane. Good that they reuse various alleyways as well. So what's it like? Wind this up at the very top then with... Spoiler! Mystery Way is great and all, but in order to access it, you need another version of Yokai Witch 2. And to access everything, you need all 3 versions. See the problem? I assume this is what put it down. Still above half the other areas, considering what there is here. But is it really worth the extra 2 versions? I mean maybe, unless one of your missing versions is Psychic Spectres. Good luck with that. Or you could talk to my pal Plundros and do the Hidden Oni quest to get all the keys. The highest rated main BBQ area with an average of 6.91 is Northbeech at number 15. This one's quite a bit higher than the other two, seemingly because of the Dream Wheel. Why am I not surprised? You got the Pearly Chamber of Whimsy and Tornado here as well, which is cool. There's quite a few shops here, including Jungle Hunter Guy, which I don't think I've ever spoken to in BBQ after his key quest. A lot of people said this is just better Southmond, which I can agree with. Despite not having a major dungeon if you don't count the Pearly Chamber of Whimsy, we do have City Hall with the Hall of Guard and Zombie Night. The circus is also there, and of course a bunch of quests like the other 2 main BBQ areas. Not really much else to say about this one. And we have another tie for 14th, but it's only 2 this time rather than 3, both at an average of 7.01, being Spakopolis and Blossom Heights. Let's start with Spakopolis, the main new Springdale area of Yokai Witch 3. Despite being pretty small, terror time could occur here. Who would have thought that was a good idea? Anyway, there's a couple alleyways at Soba Shop, and of course the Detective Agency, where literally all Haley quests start, and a major focus in the main story. Can't forget Illusionary Sparkopolis and Hoaxy Coaxy as well. That's pretty cool. There's also that one key quest. You know, we don't have to talk about that one. Other than the story, I don't really have much else to comment on. This comment sums up my thoughts. Makes sense why Haley would absolutely love the place, but I'm not Haley. At least the Detective Agency is very nice. Surprised how high this one is, considering most of the comments were negative. I guess people really like Haley, and to be fair, you do come here a lot during the story. Now for Blossom Heights, a pretty big area compared to others. There's quite a lot here. The main area for Chapter 4 in Yokai Witch 1, the Hot Springs in Spoink, the Old Mansion in Chirpster, Shoten Temple for Fusion, Times and More for watch upgrades, which is a big one. Even more minor places like the Bike Shop, Wayfair Manor, Chlorophyll Good or whatever it's called, Granny Edna's Candy Shop and the Lottery, the Birdhouse. There's so much here, I really like it. The comments here seem to agree or completely disagree, saying there isn't much to do here, which I find interesting. Makes sense why I got this high, and 0 people rated this 1. Number 12 is another main area of Springdale, being downtown with an average of 7.11. Another pretty big one. There's quite a bit here. In Yokai Witch 1, there's Shops Nomburger, Bellybuster Curry, and Frostia's Place. Okay, so I'm just recording footage for the downtown Springdale part, and I'm in Yokai Witch 1. I go to Bellybuster Curry, and I can't get in there for some reason. So then I look it up, right, and I see that Curry, the Bellybuster Curry wasn't in the game until Yokai Witch 2, and I was like, okay, that's a bit weird. Where'd you get Curry in Yokai Witch 1 then? And then Curry's not in Yokai Witch 1, what? I could have sworn it was. I'm only just now finding out Curry was a food item added in Yokai Witch 2. I'm baffled. I could have sworn it was in the first game. But I guess not. The station, which was kind of pointless in that game, but was given a use in later games. Not a good one in my opinion, but a use nonetheless. The business tower, famous for the All Quest in York 3, and most notably the construction site with massive face and stuff. Kind of a shame they got rid of it in 2, but the sports centre is also really good, so I'll take it. Boss rushes are really fun to do. Also in 2, they added Cafe Shinista, and 3 there's Sunset Mall. Probably the area they added the most to across 2 and 3. The Golden Egg is also there. I also like Blossom Heights more than Downtown, but I understand why this one is slightly higher. I really like the construction site and sports centre, too bad we can't have both. Kind of. Of course, like other areas, there's plenty quests here, including the one that doesn't even exist. Next up is Hopper's Gorge in 11th with a rating of 7.19. How exactly did this get such a high rating? I thought people hated the Tower of Enlightenment. Not complaining though, I like the tower. The horses are pretty cool, but we all know the brown and white one is the best. Speedcopter is introduced here, which people have mixed feelings about. There's also Coma Star and Bear Boy or Destroy. Seems like the tower carries this one. Like Hilltime Mansion, I'm pleasantly surprised to see that quite a lot of people also like the Tower of Enlightenment. I don't think it's as good as Infinite Inferno Divine Paradise, but it's a fine replacement in my opinion, and home to the hardest boss in this game. Don't really have much to say. We've already talked about Zenlightner several times before. The tower is good, but I wouldn't say it's this good. I would personally rate Hopper's Gorge lower, but oh wait, there's Commissar. You know what, I take it back, this is a perfectly fine placement. Starting off the top 10 with a rating of 7.39 is the Cluvian Continent. This one's complicated, whether you include Blaster's Tea or not, which most people did. Blaster's Tea is an amazing side mode, some people love it, some people hate it. Excluding Blaster's Tea, this area is decently big and you have the boss fight matches which are cool. Having everything shrunken down in the overworld really makes it feel huge. You of course can't forget the way you unlock areas here. I love doing Suspicious Room over and over, only to send me to an area which I've already discovered. Cluvian Continent is a pretty cool area, but it's clear people love Blaster's Tea and less so the area in which it resides. With an average of 7.41, staying in the Yokai World, at number 9 is the Yokai World. One of my personal favourites, not a single person rated this below 4. In my opinion, this area is at its best in Yokai Watch 1. Works well as a final area with high ranked yokai. I also like how the Onis judge you after each gate. The 3 sub-areas are cool, maybe except Hungry Pass. Grub Snatch is very annoying. There's also the White Yokai and McCracken. Oh yeah, also Venok taught him a friend. In Orchestra it's mostly the same, but with different yokai, Corpton, and being locked to the post-game. We fight McCracken is cool though. At 3 they completely changed it to the Ambrosia Pavilion, which I do like, but Brutal took me 6 years to get, so yeah. This change is very split. Some people think Ambrosia Pavilion carries this area, while others think it ruined it. The Yokai 1 and 2 version also makes a quick cameo on the Enman quest, which is cool. Overall, very good area that does unfortunately feel a bit underused, especially in 2. Still in the Yokai World with number 8, Divine Paradise with a rating of 7.45. I like the Inferno, and this is basically an extension of the Inferno, but with the rekills of Yokai Watch 2 bosses, though there aren't as many. I really don't like navigating Divine Paradise compared to the Inferno. Climbing up and down is cool and all, but it's much more annoying than simply going through doors. Sure, the Inferno had laddered, but Divine Paradise only has strings to navigate. The big spiral at the beginning also doesn't help. Of course, the main attraction here is Cat Cradle, arguably the hardest boss in the series. They need to beat 100 times for a trophy. Not repeating myself, and I've talked about it several times before, but I overall quite like Cat Cradle. Not as convenient to navigate as Infinite Inferno, and there are less bosses, but the one present are good, especially Cat, even if she is sometimes frustrating to fight. This comment is basically my opinion on this area. We're finally out of the Yokai World again. Number 7 is Old Springdale, which has an average of 7.48. These past few have had quite close ratings. For some reason they decided to combine Uptown, Downtown, Blossom Heights and Shoppers Row into one area in the past, thus making this area huge. I'm personally not a huge fan of this, but a lot of you seem to like it. I know we're not really considering glasses, but it really is a pain to navigate in that game. I guess the same could be said for your Orchestra Terror Time. The lack of mirror pulls is the most noticeable here, especially since you don't even unlock in mirror docks here till the very end, make it so in order to get you to warp to Harrisville, go back into the past and then get to the train here. It's cool seeing everything 60 years ago, though obviously very story important towards the end. Speaking of, Dame Dead Time. Cool boss, but it's a shame there's a massive difficulty spike if you don't end up doing quests or anything. And it's not like you really can do anything at that point in the game, so it locks you to Wicked Springdale. Great area otherwise though. I honestly don't mind this area's absence in 3. I'm definitely in the minority when I say I don't like this area as much. I mean, it's good, but not that good. The rating of 7.68. Uptown Springdale is number 6. The starting area of Yokai Watch 1 and 2. Very iconic and a great starting area connecting 4 of the 5 other main Springdale areas. Being the starting area has a lot of story significance, less so in 3 but that doesn't count. The good bosses here include Slayamander, and Slayamander. Plenty of iconic quests here and where we first meet Banyan. We have shops like the Fish Place and Banter Bakery as well. Not to mention Pickleson Bank, Lambert Post Office and Jungle Hunter. Of course this is where Nick and Katie live, and I haven't even mentioned the school, which is good in 1 mostly, okay in 2. There's a severe lack of yokai spawns, as I've noticed trying to get Tanbo. And in 3, oh yeah, there's a Koalanyan quest, which exists. Minus these 3, I don't really have anything negative to say. The music is great, I think they should have stuck with it for 2, not sure why they felt the need to remix it. It's good, but I prefer the original. How the hell did Mount Wildwood make the top 5 with a rating of 7.75? Gambling, that's why. Still, the fact it's this high up is wild. Would this area do well if not for the cranky guy? Actually, maybe. Might be the biggest single room area other than Hopper's Gorge. So it makes complete sense why there's no terror time. That and the pathways would be too narrow. There's a lot to do here. First off, the Sacred Tree. Other than the cranky kind where we meet Whisper for the first time, it's also the entrance to the yokai world and where you fight McCracken too. There's a festival you can go back to in Donshan in 2 and 3. We also have Catfish Pond and Snaggerjag, the abandoned house with Destroyer and Jeepcoma, the abandoned tunnel with Dewheel in all 3 games, plus like Drop and Illuminoctin and stuff in later games. Mount Wildwood Summit is where you befriend Valk in 2 and where the Raillight and Drizelda battle boards are. I have, however, spent many hours here hunting for Darkest Stags, which is very annoying. Despite all this, looking at the comments, it seems this area is in fact this high due to the Crankakai. I shouldn't even be surprised. Number 4 is the last area from the human world, Harrisville, with a rating of 8.03. The main new present area of Yokai Watch 2, heavily important to the story. I honestly don't see what's so great about Harrisville. I mean, Mount Middleton is cool, the ability to sleep in Grandma's house is neat, there's souls right here in Yokai Watch 2, the Temple of Virtue. There's also a couple of shops in Daily Yokai. Oh right, the Infinite Tunnel. I mean, it's great and all, but did it really carry the score? Yes. That and story importance, I think, but mostly the tunnel. The tunnel and theming save this one. I think Harrisville is boring, but I realize it's the purpose here. The Infinite Tunnel is one of my favourite things in Yokai Watch since I tried it. It's basically my fault, exactly. We can't forget Nokotopia. You guys remember Nokotopia, right? I'm also surprised that it remains this high despite the lack of content in Yokai Watch 3. There's a couple of quests and stuff, but that's all they really could have done with an area added in an update. Tunnel is great, not much to say apart from that, but according to you guys, Harrisville is the best human world area in Yokai Watch 1 to 3. Number 3 is the Infinite Inferno with an average rating of 8.16. The main post-game area in 1 and base 2. I've been through this area more times than I can count, whether that be just beating it normally, or yokai hunting, or activating terror time in 1. You'd think I'd have memorized the layout by now, but nope, I still end up going the wrong way every now and again. It works amazingly as a post-game area, basically being a boss rush of most of the main story bosses, with an extra hard original boss at the end being Wall Walk. I do think it's at its best in 1 with much more yokai, the terror time doors, and Wall Walk feeling harder. Though in 2 they did add that area for the Dame Dead Tank quest and the Kinkin and Bronzel fight. I don't really need to say more here, do I? The Infinite Inferno is just great. Just 2 left. If you've been keeping track thus far, you know what they are. You probably already know what number 1 is. Thus, second place belongs to Gara Gara Resort, which has an average rating of 8.19, quite close to Infinite Inferno. It's a good area with, in my opinion, the best boss in the game, but it baffles me how it snuck its way up to second for several reasons. The first and main reason being not only is it exclusive to Yokai Watch 2, but specifically Psychic Spectres, which I know a decent chunk of you haven't played. Second of all, lack of content. There's quite a bit to do here, but comparing it to others there really isn't too much here, especially once you've done all like 4 quests. You can do stuff in Paradise Springs and Rebattle Kabuking, and that's it I guess. There's also the rare Happy-Go-Lucky Express. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever revisited Paradise Springs or Wolf It Down after the initial quest. Despite this, the quests here are absolutely amazing. There's the first one with Hedesime on the train, the introduction quest, of course the Kabukin quest, Dark Yank quest, and it even has its own bike race. Visually as well, I really like how these places look. Despite the 2 major flaws, everything else is so good that it made its way up to second. Pretty sure we all saw this one coming. It's no surprise that number 1 is the train station. Just kidding, those weren't even included. Number 1 is, of course, New Yokai City with a rating of 8.61. The largest score difference between places. It wasn't even close. Being an area in the story and the base game, unlike Gara, this place has so much more. Even if a couple parts of it in the story aren't great, such as 50 ghoulie battles in a row or the RNG in Bada Bing Tower, but those can be completely overlooked with everything else New Yokai City has to offer. There are so many quests here from Nick and Haley, which include Little Charmer's Silver Lining, Dame Deer Time Quest, Chocobo Yang Quest, the Amino Part 2, the Zazzle Quest, the Plundros Quest, and many other quests also take place here, even if not fully. Quite a few daily yokai here as well as the restaurants. There are a few story boss here as well, being Rongo Sorrel, Hoxie Coxie 2, Hoxie Coxie 3, Slackerjack 2, Doppelbot, the Executor 4, Ghoulfather, and Don Spiracy if you count that. Not a huge fan of Hoxie Coxie 3, the Executor 4 being repeats, but other than that, it's a mostly great boss selection. But the best part, in my opinion, is the Blaster's House. Having the cutscene referencing the Whipped Cream cutscene was so cool the first time, and all the other times. Best cutscene. But then being taken to the Blaster's House, absolute peak. Getting to talk to everyone and explore around his Nate felt weird, but cool. Can you tell Blast is my favourite game? There's a reason I need my Discord server after this place. 10 out of 10 area. There's probably even more that I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, I find it neat how many yokai and NPCs there are here, and it's cool interacting with them all. And that concludes the 5K special. Thank you all again for this huge milestone. Enjoying seeing all your comments and your thoughts. I did read them all. Sorry this took so long. Not my fault Silksong came out and Team Cherry forced me to 100% it. Videos on the Nyans Only series will start production soon, but before that, there's set another stream series I would like to make a video on first. Considering how long this took, who knows how long those will take. Then again, I'm not occupied playing Silksong anymore, but just be patient. They will come eventually. As usual, like us if you liked it and want to see more, and comment your favourite yokai witch area. Shoutouts to members Tycoon Boat, Sandwich Metal, Opal Kitsune, Epic Alien, Angela, Lenny Face, Drybone Tat Guy, Low Quality Sam, Colin Wing, Darkside 2475, Untitled Goose Guy, Noble Samurai, Buds the Light, Jared King, Grippo, CK Max Plays Dynamon, Not Waits, Matthew 3Z, Dragavion, Common Treatment, Forecast Curly, JJS Videos, Stumble, Real Fars, Mini, Starville, Duda, Mori Music, MG Angel, Polric King, Yeet Ye, Xavier Ward, Mr. The Glitch, Heath, Warren Wood, Nightmare Saldy, Snock, Hazy Lane, Reezeraz, Teddy Nyan, Aaron the Autistic Neko, Mika NG, Drybones, KG Blabla, Mousehold, Nathan Bird, The Nublet, Vince Viver, Dynamon, Vlad Permina 33, Yokai Salvo, and NZ Gaming. And I'll see you in the next one.